Imagine waking up one morning and realizing that the money you worked for, saved for years, and trusted your future to has suddenly lost half of its value. You didn't make a bad investment. You weren't scammed. No one stole from you. The only thing that changed was a decision made far away from you, behind closed doors, by people you never voted for and cannot control. Hey everyone, this is exactly what millions of people lived through during the global financial crisis of 2008. Banks collapsed, one after another. Institutions that were meant to stand for stability and security failed when they were needed most. To save the system, governments responded by creating vast amounts of new money, seemingly out of nothing. And once again, it was ordinary people who paid the price. Savings quietly lost their value. Trust slowly faded. And many were left facing an uncomfortable realization they didn't truly own their money after all. But while the world was focused on news channels, emergency meetings, and collapsing markets, something strange and quiet happened on the internet. No press conference, no announcement, no corporation behind it. Just a short message sent to a small cryptography mailing list. The date was October 31st, 2008. The sender used the name no one had ever heard before, Satoshi Nakamoto. That message introduced an idea that would eventually change the history of money itself. A peer-to-peer electronic cash system. Money that does not rely on banks, that does not need governments, and that works without permission. But this story did not begin in 2008. That moment was only the result of a much longer journey, one rooted in cryptography, privacy, surveillance, and a growing fear of centralized control. Long before Bitcoin existed, there were people who understood where the digital world was heading. In the early 1990s, as the internet slowly became global, governments realized that digital communication would soon become a new source of power. Whoever controlled information could control people. In response, a small group of programmers, mathematicians, hackers, and freedom advocates came together. They called themselves the cypherpunks. These were not ordinary technologists. They believed that privacy was not a luxury, but a fundamental right, and that technology, not politics, was the only way to protect it. They reached a simple but dangerous conclusion. If your messages can be read, your transactions tracked, and your money frozen whenever someone decides, then freedom is only an illusion. Their answer was not protest or lobbying. Their answer was code. Their motto said everything. Cypherpunks write code. To them, money was not just currency, it was power. Whoever controls money controls society, and if freedom was ever going to exist online, money itself had to be redesigned. The first serious attempts came decades before Bitcoin. In the 1980s, cryptographer David Chaum created a system called eCash, which allowed private digital payments. Technologically, it was brilliant, but it relied on banks, and that reliance became its weakness. When the company behind it collapsed in 1998, one lesson became clear. Any centralized system has a single point of failure. Others approached the problem from different directions. Adam Back introduced the idea of proof of work, a method that created digital scarcity by forcing computers to perform real, measurable effort. Nick Szabo envisioned BitGold, a system that treated digital money like a rare commodity, rather than something issued and controlled by banks. Wei Dai outlined B-Money, a proposal for decentralized digital cash. Hao Finney explored reusable proof of work. pushing the idea of digital value even further. Each of these concepts solved an important piece of the puzzle, but none of them completed the picture. And then, e-gold appeared. By the mid-2000s, e-gold had grown into a massive digital currency, with over 1 million users, billions of dollars flowing through the system, and real physical gold backing every unit. It felt unstoppable, like the future of money had already arrived. But that confidence didn't last. In 2005, US authorities stepped in. Servers were seized, accounts were frozen, and almost overnight, the entire system vanished. Not because the technology failed, but because it was centralized. And that lesson would change everything. When the financial system collapsed in 2008 and trust in banks evaporated, Satoshi Nakamoto combined many of ideas into a single elegant design. Public key cryptography ensured true ownership. Proof of work created agreement without trust. A public blockchain made records transparent and immutable. No central authority, no permission required. Bitcoin was born. On January 3, 2009, the first Bitcoin block was mined. Inside it was a message taken from a newspaper headline about governments using public money to save failing banks. The meaning was clear. Bitcoin was created as a response to a broken financial system. In the early days, Bitcoin was almost worthless, and that's where the most fascinating stories begin. In 2010, a programmer named Laszlo Hanyecz paid 10,000 Bitcoins for 2 pizzas. At the time, it was worth about $35. Today, those pizzas would be worth hundreds of millions. Another early miner, James Howells, accidentally threw away a hard drive containing 7,500 Bitcoins. That single mistake would later cost him a fortune. These stories sound unbelievable now, but they reveal something important. Bitcoin was not created as an investment. It was created as an idea. Bitcoin succeeded where others failed because it removed trust from institutions and replaced it with mathematics, because it aligned incentives, because its supply was limited. No one could shut it down. It arrived at the exact moment people stopped believing in the old system. For centuries, gold stood unquestioned as the ultimate store of value, a physical asset trusted across civilizations, now carrying a total market value of around $30 trillion. But in a remarkably short span of time, just over 15 years, Bitcoin entered the picture and rewrote expectations. Today, its market capitalization fluctuates around $2 trillion, placing it among the most valuable assets on Earth. That means Bitcoin has already captured roughly 7 to 8% of gold's total market value, an extraordinary achievement for something that didn't exist a generation ago and was once dismissed as worthless lines of code. This isn't just a story about numbers or price charts. It's a signal that the way humanity defines value may be quietly but fundamentally changing. Bitcoin is not perfect. It's volatile, regulated, and demands responsibility. But it was never an accident. It was built on one simple belief. Money should be neutral, resistant to control, and free. In 2011, Satoshi Nakamoto disappeared, leaving no explanation. The creator was gone, but the system kept going. Today, it's not about whether Bitcoin will survive. It's about your place in this ongoing change. I'm Hur, and this was another real story. If you found this video valuable, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Let me know in the comments, how do you see the future of Bitcoin? And here's a real challenge for you to think about. If money no longer needs banks or governments, who should be trusted with power instead? Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.